Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. As promised, I'm going to jump straight back onto the engine bay today or this morning and start lining everything up and getting it tack weld and then finally welded into place permanently. Let me show you up close and we'll get started. Yeah, we've got various reference points on the bumper support beam here to anchor, plus on the shroud itself those two Phillips screws, and then of course all the mounting bolts. On this side I've mounted these bolts here that tally up to the bolt holes. If you can see them just there, we've bolted that through to confirm that we're in alignment. So this one is fairly straightforward. On this side I'm going to scribe a line all the way down and cut that panel out, and we'll tack weld that in. This one's a little different here because obviously this is rising up on the lip and that's sandwiched together, which isn't right. And then once this little cut here, the panel can drop down and then I can make my alignment here, and then that will make it align better at the bottom. It's a little out at the moment, so I've got to take this fender off, make that little cut, and a little bit at a time. These stanchions here, these upright stanchions that hold the radiator, I cut a piece of wood. These 27 3/8 between here and here. I'm going to mount the piece of wood up here to make sure this stays absolutely true and doesn't get off kilter. And then we can do our spot welds here, and then on the underside here. All of the areas that get contact like this will have weld through primer and spot welded back in, or rosette welded back into place. So let's get this fender off and get started. So I'm going to cut this section here first, drop it in, and then make sure that is obviously all in alignment. Remount the fender, make sure this fine lip here is in alignment here. See, right there, we've got to make sure that's all true. So that fine lip is a real key point. And then we can go ahead and mark it, cut it, and start welding that in. And then on this side we will just mark it. Just cut this section off here, what was sitting there, and then that enables this to drop down level here. Okay, so then we can continue and mark our patch, our cutout area. Once we'll bolt back on again, we'll bolt the fender back on, triple check everything, make sure everything's aligned, put my wood piece in, make sure everything's good to go. Then we'll mark off and check this lower area down at the bottom here that I showed you earlier. When I'm refitting the fenders also, I kind of put all the bolts in, but I don't tighten any of them up yet until everything's kind of loosey-goosey, you know. And then once you're happy with everything and all of them gone in without any stress, so you don't want anything being stressed, you know, because that obviously tells you something's not right, then you can tighten them up. Okay, I've got to take it off again because I don't like the way that's too close there compared to this side here. I want to triple check, make sure everything's okay, and what I think it is, I've still got a little bit of this metal hanging up, this dropping down correctly. Yeah, let me go and check that and then we'll remount again. Right, with a little bit of faffing around for 15-20 minutes, I gained back a gap here. I checked my 6-cylinder and the gap on that is much the same here, and the gap over here is a little wider as well on my 6-cylinder, so I'm going to call that good. Let me show you. As you can see, the gap here is larger, just like on the 6.3, and then here it's smaller. So I'm pretty much on there. So we've got all these reference points from the mounting point to the buffer here, and that all lines up perfect. And then our ridge here on the other car, that's the main thing, to keep that level. And then before I go scribing, because no good scribing and then being off, you end up cutting out too much material. So make triple sure it's all lined up as best you can, and then we'll get marking. What's nice is that now we cut that patch off, we get rid of this silly little patch someone had again overlapped metal, just patched over. Let me dig that out, see what's underneath there, just for just for yucks. Not that it matters really, I mean it's just really to see what kind of condition things are in when people repair stuff like that. And then what it does, you see, just hides crap. See? I don't know why he's even put a patch on there. Kind of weird, the metal underneath didn't look that bad. So anyway, I don't know, fill that hole possibly, I don't know. Anyway, we'll get rid of that. Right, after a lot of fiddling around and cutting both sides and really fine tuning the join here, I kind of had to do a sharp 90 degree here. Best is do round corners because there's a lot of heat build up on 90 degree corners, but because of access in the engine bay to get a cut there was a little difficult, so I'm going to just be very careful on that little tiny corner right there. I've put my board in here, my spacer board, to make sure the radiator surround is true, 27 3/8 from side to side. I've got these clamps pinching the weld spots underneath here on both sides. This one was a little tricky, but to get everything lined up, got a little bit of a gap at the bottom here that I will have to fill with a weld. Also, there's some damage here that showed itself when I was cleaning. I'm not worried too much about this because what I'll do is I'll weld this all up, okay, and then come back in with a patch lammed over it, so blend it all in so that joins up. So I'm not too worried about that damage. I think someone had been in before. A lot of taking off and putting on, taking off, putting on, jimming it around, just taking your time, making sure it's all aligned to your satisfaction. I will put a few tacks in, remount the fenders, just to do another triple check, make sure everything is lining up nicely, and then we'll go from there and start welding it all up. Okay, I've got that. I tack welded it on and fitted the fender just to make sure everything lines up nice. It's very time consuming, but you just got to be patient, watch the power on the welder. You don't have it up too high, but you have to have high enough for good penetration. Right, now that we've got all this basically tack welded, this is the next day by the way as well, so just so we don't get any flash rest, I coat it with acid etch, you know, coats all the bare metal with a sort of phosphate coating. This has been zinc weld through primed, but to save trying to weld through the actual primer, and because sometimes it doesn't weld as perfect as dead clear metal obviously, so what I'm going to do is going to get cut off bit that's been flattened off, okay, and then just score up the metal. So it cleans out just the hole, but still remains the weld through primer in the other surfaces. I got this tip from Fitzees Fabrications, great bloke on YouTube, so check him out. He's a wonderful guy, simple tools, making repair panels, welding repairs, all manner of stuff. Great bloke, a lot of experience, and has helped me no end. So check him out on YouTube, and I'll put a link in the description below. So anyway, so that I've done that. I'm not going to do that one yet because that clamp's holding it. Once these take over, I'll do that one. There you go, that's all nice and strong now, anchored there. I'm going to do the same, I won't show you, but I'm going to do the same all the way down these back side, and then we're going to move over to the other side. Back on the other side now, I've got a few spots in here just to hold the panel so I can remove the little holding clamp here, and just like the other side, working your way real slowly, making sure we're level all the time, and cooling it off with air as much as you can. make sure we don't get any distortion. But this panel has quite a lot of strength in it because of the curve, and also this is quite strong as well because of this crease here. So you've got a lot of strength in the panel, but don't rush. Priority is to make sure it's level. That's why I really take my time, because that will come back to bite you otherwise later if you don't. So I'm going to weld this guy up. Obviously not going to film all of it, and I'll see you on the other side. Now back to the other side. This area here where there was a little bit of corrosion here and the metal started to get real thin, I'm going to put a bridging patch here just to take care of that. So I just got a little piece of 18 gauge that I'm going to weld in now. It'll probably have to be spot welded on the outer box unit back this side. That's where I think those dimples are there. So I partially cut this side out, but this side is connected to the box section on the inside. So and there's spot welds there. Now I found another way of taking the spot welds out in a kind of more controlled manner is, again, use this guy, and then essentially just where you think the spot welds are, kind of obliterate this piece of metal, because we're getting rid of it. So let's see how that works. There you go. That'll tell us where the spots are, you see? And there's that outer box unit that now will spot weld into our new patch too. So that'll look a lot neater. Got it to fit pretty good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tack weld it around the perimeter, and then I'm going to grind this top edge down where I can see the gap. Then I'm going to fill it, and then I can put the little round onto it. So what I need to do now, clean this. I'll clean this with Permatex, clean it with a blast of Permatex and some weld through primer, and then we'll punch some holes through ready for spot welding, and then that can be spot welded to this. Okay, there's the patch. That went in quite nicely. I've been trying to pick up some of these little pinholes at the top here. This is slightly out of alignment, this to here, but obviously the fender comes over and hides that. But I really worked to get as close as I possibly could. I might pick up that little hole there as well, even though that's never going to be seen again. I know it's there and it bugs me, that stuff. So anyway, again, get it as nice as possible without risking going too thin. So I'm going to work my way down here. Hopefully you can see that, reposition the camera. So I'm just going to work this little area here where we've got a little body line here, and that curves down across the weld here. So we're going to try blending this, and what I've figured out, best way to do is use a grinder at first. Very carefully I put on my high-powered reading glasses and just take the tops of those welds off. Okay, so there it is, all ground up. Got a pretty nice join there, got a nice flow here, blended it into the end here. As you can see, got all this to do all the way along and all the way down, but I'm aiming to get a finish like that where it's essentially almost invisible. You might, if you look very carefully, just see some tiny little feather lines here that I can, obviously will be covered with epoxy primer and you'll never see them. And then, as I say, we're gonna more than likely off camera, but I will patch this area just similar to I did the other side. So that's pretty much it. So there it is, all ground up, all there. Pretty happy with the way it's ground up, nice and smooth. A couple of tiny little imperfections along here, but I'm being overly cautious about thinning the metal, so obviously this is going to get epoxied and filled with whatever underbody sealant we end up doing, so you'll never see it again. We do obviously have to drill the third hole here. I'm going to use the old one as a template for the air tank tubes to go through into the engine bay. We do have to see this bumper iron here. I do have to fill this hole because this is a section of bumper iron off of that old car that I welded on there, so we'll fill that and then we'll weld our bracket on for the tank and then remount our tank suspension air tank here. But see, that's all feathered in pretty good, and now we've got to work on to putting this box section back in. Well, there you have it, all ground up on this side too. Got it as smooth as possible there. That white paint is just a kind of a paint I put on to make sure it doesn't flash rust in between the times I get back and forth to the job. So this area I painted up. This area had a few little dimples here I wasn't too worried about because this obviously gets covered, and then the air cleaner and obviously painted and everything. So that is it. Well, thanks a lot for watching, guys. I think we've got it all pretty much buttoned up now for the day, or last few days I should say, spread over a few weeks. Haven't been able to jump on it, been busy at regular work, and so sorry the videos are getting a little spaced out because some of these jobs take obviously a lot of time, and so there's not a lot to report on. But this is one of the biggest upper welding jobs on the car, and believe it or not, taking into consideration welding inside and outside on both seams plus spot welding, you're looking at around 6.5, maybe 7 feet of pulse welding, and obviously dressing it, making it look nice. So it's quite a bit of welding, a lot of work. I'm glad it's done. Probably start working our way around the passenger side of the car, addressing some of the welding issues outstanding on that side. And I will see you in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching. Please hit like, share, subscribe, and put a comment in down below if you like what you see, or if you don't, you got a comment. All right, thanks a lot, guys. Take care and have a good one. Bye bye.